Hello folks, well this isn't a CB radio, it's an SWR meter, and it's the final job from the trucking and farming business. If I get this done he can come and collect his gear. So what's unusual about this, and we've covered one before, is it has a built-in deviation meter. So of course we've all seen those ones intended for the American AM market, which have got the 3 meters on for power, SWR and modulation. And people buy those in this country and expect that modulation to actually read something, which it can't, because we're not doing modulation in the UK on the FM sets, because FM is deviation. And all you need to be able to show AM modulation is a diode. But on FM we need to have a full FM receiver. Now some of these meters, I know my friend Mark G7NDJ bought a Midland one, and it was crystal controlled receiver on a spot frequency, which was probably channel 20 CPT. And what he was concerned about is he wasn't getting the right readings. I said, well Mark, it will only work on channel 20 CPT, and it won't work properly on UK. So he came here with it, and we put a UK set on channel 1, and we kind of calibrated. We did a chart so he knew what it said meant what. So imagine that he came here and we put a tone on and it said his deviation was 1.4. Well, looking at the equipment here, he could see that 1.4 equaled 2.3. So we were able to make up a chart so we could use it off frequency, because of course to have the crystal changed for its receiver would have been prohibitively expensive. So sometimes a crystal control, sometimes it's a wide band receiver. I've seen these before, but of course I can't remember. So the 12 volts is to work the, disappointing there's no fuse holder in that. Obviously it has to have power because it's a deviation meter, and it has an FM receiver in it to do that. So these are quite expensive. I would think they were probably in the £69 region, I'm guessing, but I would think they would have been at the time. Not like having an SWR meter or a power meter or whatever. So it's still aimed at the hobby market. It's not a laboratory type of instrument. So we've got it powered up, and it's drawing 6 milliamps off the power supply. Now we've flicked it to FM. So without any further fiddling, we will connect it to our test set. You know what, we'll connect it to, no, connect it to the Marconi one for now, and then for calibration purposes we'll connect it to the other one, which is more accurate. So we need a patch lead, don't we? Yes, Mr. Tango, we need a patch lead. That's going to be fun. I've probably got an SWR meter somewhere we can borrow a patch lead from. Right, so back on with the video. We've set up a Midland 2001 on the bench, UK channel 20, and that's going in through a patch lead into the input side of the meter, and into the aerial side of the meter we've got the test equipment with its dummy load. So I'm going to key up and we'll do calibrate. It's got built-in matcher as well, hasn't it? Yeah. So we would want matcher off. And I've managed to pick a microphone that doesn't work, so my radio hasn't gone into transmit. Right, that's better. So calibrate, we're in the 10 watt scale. No idea which is calibrate. Well, it's stuck, isn't it? Both these are stuck. Okay, let's see what deviation does. Wallow, wallow, wallow. It's over the top. Wallow. Unless the radio's over the top. Wallow. we'll go on the meter behind me. I thought this was a service set, but I've got no paperwork to prove it. It was also in the haven't got the foggiest pile. Right, so the deviation on our calibrated deviation meter, wow, is well over the top. So we'll deal with that. We'll make the radio how it should be. Could have sworn this was a set we'd done, but there you go. It's the lower one, isn't it, for deviation? Well, you know what? I'm going to use this. Just see if I can set it roughly on this deviation meter which we're looking at. Just try and prop it up. Wallow. That should be, that's peaking at 2.5, so that should be correct. So we'll look on the test set now and see how wildly out it is. Wow, it's miles out, absolutely miles out. Wallow. So we're on, that's absolutely as it should be. Absolute peak of 2.5. We'll just go into the Marconi test set, only so I can do picture in picture with the meter, but it may not, it's got duff capacitors in the deviation meter on this, and we're not going to be bothering with it. Simply because I've got other test sets behind. What do I want? I want camera 1. And we'll put picture in picture on. Just see what it reads on the Marconi test set. Wow, it's actually spot on at the moment. It's exactly the same. There's 2. Wow, we're 2.5. We're doing 2.2 to 2.5. We can just do the peak. So it's absolutely ideal this morning. But when we put this on, wallow. Now it's still it's reading right, but it didn't read right. Wallow. So it said it was 2.5. It's a bit wide. I think it was 4, which is not something we'd want. So the radio is transmitting, this particular radio right now is transmitting at, I've got the power supply low, it is a 4-watt radio. I'll tell you what, we're going to adjust the power supply to get the power output I want, and that's exactly 4 watts. We're about 13.8 volts. I'm just on the variable power supply, and I've got it low to run the set cool. So what are we doing frequency wise? So on here, what does it say our power is? So how does this work? Power, do we have to press calibrate? It says we're doing 6 watts, but that would be typical of a hobby meter. Yeah. and for some reason both of those are jammed. I'm going to have to open this up. I'll turn the power off to it as well for now. So there's our FM receiver. Interesting brand. I think I've been reading too much Viz comic, but I'll just zoom in on that. Camera 1. I know in the UK and America these mean different things, but the broad is a particular brand. Can we just see that? Yeah, right. So why are these jammed? They're so jammed that the knobs are actually, the controls are moving. This is, you see, I can't really take the front panel off this because they're screwed. Let's go back to normal meter. This is going to look stupid. Let's go back to there. So you've got this front panel, and then you've got this sub front panel, which this is stuck to. The escutcheon is stuck to this front panel, and they're screwed through from here, so we can't get to the screws to unscrew those, which isn't ideal. Possibly the only way to do this without ruining it, just temporarily put the lid on that. I think we've got to kind of undo to undo these nuts from the inside. I may be able to do that. Right, and what we've basically got to do is to get, and hopefully I don't cut my finger like I felt I nearly did there. We've got to get a lubricant down the shaft, not the switch cleaner into the thing, but actually down the shaft, because whatever the grease or whatever has congealed, and a bit like record players, auto mechanisms. See whether that's enough. Yeah, get that nut off. Like that. Then we can withdraw the control. Who thinks this is going to be fun to put back together? Answers on a postcard. Yeah, do you remember when it was always on a postcard? Because postcard rate was cheaper, wasn't it? For a start. We're going to need an oil. I'm going to treat these one at a time. What a faff. I'm supposed to be doing the Team 80 channel set today. But even if we only get part way into that, I'll still launch it as a part 1. Team 80 channel base station, the Team 8000. The only 80 channel base station to ever appear on the UK market. I don't know why that is. You know, you'd think now with multi-norms there's a world market, but there you are. Now it's Chinese manufacturers making sets, perhaps they don't feel there is a market for it. I think we're off. Yep. And that's our left hand control, which is just as jammed. So I think this is a situation where he's probably going to be WD-40 is the best option, with it being a lubricant. I've changed my mind between now and then and now. I'm going to use the 3-in-1 multi-purpose oil, which is a very light oil, and this is an aerosol version. I don't want to get this in the product. What I want to do is get it down here, and hopefully by capillary action we'll be able to ease off whatever's causing it to be jammed. May need to heat it up. Worst case scenario, we can order replacement potentiometers. I think Mr. Chippy may even have those in stock. I'm going to go a stage further. I'm going to get a hot air heat gun. This is an Aldi item which we use for heat shrink tubing. It gets hot enough to desolder stuff as well, I'll tell you that. Right, let's put that down and just see whether yeah, we've done it. Where has this been? We'll just put this random knob on there. Yep, I've been able to give it a bit more there. Again, we'll put some there. Wow. Hopefully that'll carry on soaking in. Now I'm going to take the precaution, having gone to all the trouble, I'm going to just make sure we've got some switch cleaner in there in case these have got noisy tracks as well. I don't want to be taking them off again, as you can well imagine. All we've got to do now is thread it all back on. I think we're going to be getting the locking forceps, as I said. Can make a start. There we go. So that's kind of finger tight back on. I can't tighten them up properly with that, but there we go. Right, put the knobs back on. Drops knob on floor. It's going to be a very long video for something as seemingly simple as this, but it's not, is it? Not as simple as we think. Right. And I'll call it a thing of dummy load. This matcher, they're absolutely fine. They're variable capacitors anyway. Right, I'm going to come back to this after dinner, and I'll come back with the just before we do that. We'll just plug this in to the test set again, and we'll just see what our calibration SWR thing now does. Now the potentiometers work. So we're still on channel 20, key up, and that we want to be calibrate, matcher off, and now we can set, let's make sure that's in the picture properly, we can now properly set the set point. So we're going to go to SWR, and it says it's about 1.2 to 1, which is absolutely as it should be, and it says our power is 6-7 watts. Well, it isn't, but I'll look at what the calibration point is for that, and we'll be able to knock it back. I can only calibrate the 10 watt setting. I can't calibrate anything else, and remember, we're not a calibration place anyway. All I can do is to set it to what the other gear is. Right, so I'll go and have lunch, and we'll come back. But as far as the deviation meter reads, it's about right. Right, folks, we'll calibrate the 10 watt scale. So when we key up on this radio, it's saying we're doing over 6 watts. We're actually doing exactly 4 watts. And looking at my notes, it's the preset there. And there we are, 4 watts. So that's that done. We're not checking AM mod. I've nothing AM here. I'm not going to unpack one of the customer's other sets which we've already packed away, and it doesn't matter anyway, does it? What we do need to do, because the last one of these came in, it got a hum because of a loose socket, but the big problem with this was those jammed controls. So let's look back at deviation. Wallow. Let's go to the right scale on my test set. Wallow. Still reading about right. 1212. Let's put deviation up on here. 1212. Do you have to have that to calibrate? 1212. Oh, we have to have power on, don't we? Ha! Yeah, of course we do. Wallow. Wallow. I've forgotten what M-calib is. Let's get a look at the instruction book. So it's 1.5 to 30 megs. So FM deviation, match to off, calibration to deviation, and a direct reading on the deviation scale. So that's how we are. Wallow. 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 What's the, do we have to adjust something? What's this? I can't. This isn't very good without the lid on. Wallow, wallow. It's reading about somewhere near, but we had first initial look at this. I ended up with 4 kilohertz. So it's not something you'd want to be. I think it's being a little bit over generous, but I don't think there's anything we can do about that. It is working. So antenna matcher. Now obviously we've got a dummy load. So tell you what, we'll swap the test equipment for the actual roof aerial. We're still on channel 20. So calibrate, which is still the same place. Interestingly enough, you know, we can look at SWR and it says it's about 1.4, which it is about that. But you know, if we put this into power into the aerial, let's see what the radio does. Well, now we know we've calibrated this into the dummy load. We know the radio is doing 4 watts. Let's see what it says we're doing, because this will be inaccurate on power into an aerial. It's only accurate on power into a dummy load. It's just over the 4, but of course it isn't, and it isn't giving out more than 4. So let's see how this matcher works. So what do we do? Suppose we switch the matcher on. Oh, is that matcher calibrate? Oh right, is it on there? Absolutely no idea. I mean, the matcher works. So if we switch the matcher off, so although I haven't got an AM capable of thing here, let's just go through what this does. Set the matcher to off, AM calibrate to calibrate, AM FM deviation switch to calibrate. Oh right, there's a centre position I hadn't spotted. We key up and then we can set this right hand one to the calibration point, just like we can set the left hand one with the other one to the calibration point. And then presumably we'd be able to read AM modulation 1 to 1 to, which of course it isn't going to because it's FM, and our deviation wallow is there. But do we have to FM deviation? What do we have to do? Matcher off, the deviation, and direct. I don't think you've got to do calibrate when it's on FM, it's only when it's on AM. So there you go, that is working. Let's put the lid on it, and it's calibrated to the 10 watt scale. All I've got to do is put these screws back in. All I've got to do is remember where we put the screws. Let's put these wrong screws in this radio because these aren't the right screws for this radio. Another set we could sell. Here we go. That's where I put the screws. There's one thing I will do before we wrap this up and just see what happens if we try and do a deviation check on channel 1 and channel 40. Now if we change from channel 20 on our big test set, the Marconi one, then I have to manually tune the monitor to do the frequency we're on. But if I use the machine behind me, which we do, which is a quartz lock 282A test set, it is automatic. It sets itself for the deviation meter. That doesn't make it better, however, but it makes it a bit quicker to use. But this might be wideband enough to measure reasonably over the 40 available channels, or probably even the 80, because it's Jesan. I would expect it's primarily be made for the European market. So let's go back. We'll go back to the dummy load. We've done the aerial. I will go back into deviation, especially if I put the mic back off the floor. Right, so key up. Wallow. Where are we now? Power. Calibrate. If we do SWR because it's on a dummy load, it'll be virtually perfect. And wallow. Wallow. It's reading about there, isn't it? So channel, let's go for another channel. Channel 40. Wallow. It's reading about 2. Channel 1. Wallow. It's reading lower on channel 1. But there you go, it does work. But it's not something you'd want to calibrate things for just before you have an Ofcom inspection. But it does give an indication. So I'm glad I was able to fix that for him. just in case we haven't got that on file, I'll scan it, and then it's available to let other people have if they haven't got a copy. So there we go. Thanks for watching the Jesan SWR38 unjamming the controls. Do you know what I've not done? I've not tightened those nuts up. I'll do that off camera.